The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
We're back and we're live, Feet to Fire. I'm your host, James Zathianchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. I guess I should do these more often to remember how to turn on things. Anyway, I'm off today from work because I had a little procedure done, and things worked out okay. So that's good. Thank the Lord. And I thought I'd do a show here. Or not a show. It's not about putting on a show. I'm sharing things that I see or hear, think, feel, my spiritual moving, how my many years of listening to Bible on tape has kind of put it in my brain, and things come to mind when I hear other things and so on. And so I had some ideas I wanted to share for your perusal, and you could keep or not keep whatever you would like. You know, we're hearing times, we're seeing the things happening. It's beginning beyond belief what they want to do, post-birth abortions, forcing chemical checks, permanent gender changes to minors. I mean, minor by definition was they're not old enough to make decisions, and yet they're going to make decisions. And some states have made it so that parents cannot say anything about it. They can just change their gender for life. You know, this stuff is like unheard of 10 years ago, let alone 20. And one thing comes with age, you youngsters out there, is when you live long enough, you have a bigger enough span of seeing what's happening to see the change. Like your kids born today, you know, within the last 10 years, they have digital, they have widescreen TV and all this stuff. In my time, in my early time, there was black and white TV. There were tubes. You know, there was analog. It took 45 minutes to record one side of a tape, not just click of a button. You know that, and that's great. I'm not saying like back in my day, but I have the appreciation of how things are now. So when I do things digital audio, it's like, man, this is wonderful. Well, the same kind of thing applies for the negative, things that were taken for granted years ago. I mean, even at the Obama administration, he had a record high deportations. And yet, now we're seeing a flood through the borders. I mean, that's not good. It's for human trafficking. It's great for trafficking, great for drugs, great for people who are coming here to try and make themselves better and then end up getting trapped here. It destroys the economy so that when they do get here, it's like, hey, guess what? We're the same as you came from, you know. But my point is that you have this perspective of seeing what happened before, what's happening now, and go, wow, right? Well, what I want to talk about is what we're seeing now is the revealing of things that have been spiritually taught for many years. They've been warned about. Hey, thou shalt not do this, that, and the other. And you think, well, why is that? Is God sitting up there denying us pleasure? Is God saying, hey, I'm your boss, do what I say? But now we're seeing as it plays out when people make the choices against thou shalt not, and they're doing them out live, you can see what happens from it. You get to go, oh, wow. You get to see it play out. Rampant sexuality has people not have deep relationships. They now just treat people like sex is nothing, and yet it was supposed to be a sacred thing for a couple that would deepen them physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, along with their whole package, and now it's just torn apart. And you have the these I'm going to get something else in a minute. These type of things are being they're being stepped on. They're being corrupted. They're being trashed, which is what the goal of the devil is. Oh, this guy is a devil. That's old fashioned. It doesn't exist. Well, I don't want to get legalistic and say, well, this, that, whatever. I want to talk about things in terms of how you could see it happening in the world. So when you go out there and you say, well, the devil made me do it and all that, it's not an excuse. But when you see the corruption and the problems and the destroying of families, of people, of personal, of freedom, of creativity, enslaving them to electronics, drugs, in debt, great debt, slaving them to work. When you see all these things together, when you look back behind it and say, well, why is this happening? Well, this is what the goal is to turn the human race in on itself and have it self-destruct while the devil sits there laughing. I mean, that's the goal. Now, why, who's the devil? Why is the devil doing this? I don't know details. What I do is I look at reality and I put a picture together that knits together without forcing, kind of naturally fits together the pictures. And we go throughout history, and you have it in various religions referring to this stuff. You talk about what's going on now when you talk about Revelation. All right, there's a misbelief that the apocalypse is the end of the world and all this. What Revelation means, and the Greek word apocalypse means revealing, removing things that were hidden, and they're making them plain, and you could see it. Now, before you were told, don't do this, without giving examples why. And some people over time have found the examples. They've seen it happen. They go, oh boy. But now we're seeing it on a wide scale. Not only are we talking about rampant sex, you're talking about cross-gender, you're talking about transgender, you're talking about children and adults and children and children. It's way over the top. So the point is, and I got some verses lined up to get in this a minute, but one of the things is, Jesus talked about a lot of stuff comes to mind as I'm doing this, so I don't have time to look it up, so I'm just going to pre-look it up. So Jesus said, if you hate somebody, you're already a murderer. And if you have lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery. Now, you could look at it legalistically and say that's a guilt and a sin if you do that, but I think what the premise is that when you're on the path of hate, you will end up into murder. It's a pathway that, as it manifests out in its purity, when it perfects itself, is murder. When you have lust in your heart, as it manifests it comes out into actual actions. And once you act out in the real world, now that's real. You're going to be tempted. You can go like, hey, whatever, and it's like, okay, I didn't do it, and I'm not going to do it, and it's wrong. That's good. There was the temptation there, from whether it be from the biological aspects of your brain, whether it be from a spiritual temptation, from I don't know, demons or whatever, whether it be your upbringing is now was poor and loose or whatever, and you're forcing into it, and then something else stops you. That's good. That's a good thing. To not, when once it comes out into the real world and manifests itself, it's real. Now we're talking an entry is made in the ledger. It becomes a real thing. When you're planning on doing something and decide not to, you got that choice. You have that, oh man, I'm not going to do it. And if you choose to do it and you bring it real, well, now you've done it, and here it is, real. And the consequences start to unfold because of the reality of it. And we're in a time of the revealing. I'd rather say the revealing rather than revelation, apocalypse, because of the kind of the misunderstanding, or at least how I mean it. These things are being revealed. Why shouldn't you do this? This is why, because it's being done, and look at the lives that are being ruined. And it's going forth on it. And there was some Bible verses. Now, I'm not a Bible thumper in the classic sense, but I think there's truth here in the Bible, and certain things resonate with me at certain times. And so there's like a livingness to what's being said rather than some static words. And I'm looking around for my glasses, which I don't know what I did with. I want to be reading. How did it just disappear? I have a different set, which is not proper, so I'm going to see if this works out. I can use this. And I'm going to go with some of the Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Mark, and Matthew, because they're all accounts saying things, but there's a little subtleness to them to expand upon it. This is Luke 12:1. Under these circumstances, after so many thousands of people had gathered together, they were stepping on each other. Excuse me. And he said to the disciples, first of all right, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. So right off the bat is beware of hypocrisy. Because there is nothing covered that will not be revealed and hidden that will not be shown. Accordingly, whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and whatever you have whispered in the inner rooms, privacy, will be proclaimed on the housetops publicly and loudly, So the idea of hypocrisy is you say one thing and do another, that will be revealed. But also, what you hold as your principles and what you live by will come out. It's not like I'm not limiting it to someone telling on you, but it will manifest itself into your reality if you have this lust. I mean, lust for money, power, any type of thing. If you have that, what will happen along the way as you go down that pathway, opportunity will arise for you to do the wrong thing in order to get what you want. And in the past, people have gotten away with that. And there has been consequences, some of which are in the afterlife, but it has happened before. People have done it. But now we're in a time, and this is my assertion, is we're in a time now where that instant karma, as the phrase is, that you see what you reap, you will sow quickly, is now happening. Things are speeding up. So when you mess up now, it's going to be like fast and hard. When you make that choice to enter into reality from your fantasy world or your fear world, and you enter into reality, bam, now you're here. In the Greek behind it, I think there's two ways of saying it. I think it's Luke and Mark use one thing, Matthew do another, but it says here, but things covered up. What is it now? Oh, whatever you say in the dark will be in the light, and when you whispered and proclaimed the rook's top. When you look up Luke 21, Luke 12:2. I'm sorry. See, nothing, but there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed. Okay, when you look at that word in there, the Greek word is apocalypse. What will be revealed? Apocalypse. Well, it's in the tense, and I can't read Greek. I used to be able to read the letters, but so the word is apocalypse. So it's like nothing will be concealed up will be revealed. Apocalypse. There you go. It just goes what I'm talking about when it talks about these words. Now going to Mark 12:21, and I got the links below for these things. And he was saying to them, a lamp is not brought to be put under a basket or a bed, is it? It is not brought to be put on a lamp. Is it not brought to be put on a lampstand? The verse I'm looking at here is, for nothing is hidden except to be revealed, nor has anything been secret, but that it would come to light. So you have been built to be, your whole makeup is to manifest into reality. In fact, I maintain that the gift of God to humans, which it seems like the fallen angels are resenting, is the ability to create into reality. If you notice throughout literature, Lord of the Rings and others, you have the bad guys can only corrupt things. It's the same thing with Satan. He can only corrupt things. You can't make them. There's a creative force in humanity that can bring into the reality and create. That I maintain that's our gift from God, to be able to manifest into reality. So whatever is done in your heart will come out into reality. And the warning is, if you have lust in your heart, it will manifest itself in adultery. If you hate, will kill. If you have this stuff, if nothing is hidden except to be revealed, if you have these hidden things, it's going to come out. It's going to manifest out. And in the time frame we're out now, it manifests out hard and bad. I mean, it's one mess up and you're done. It could alter your life for the rest of your life, is what I'm meaning. As anyone has ears to hear. Now, let me look in the Greek on this, too. It uses the word manifest. I can't let's see, Panerothea. I'm not going to be try to say that. I mean, I know some Greek words, but I don't know this one. But this word they use is will be made manifest, will become into reality. The other one is reveal. The other one is be made manifest. It'll be uncovered, and this will be seen in reality. Same point, but putting them together makes it a bigger warning. We go to Matthew on the same thing on 26. So do not fear them, for do not fear them, referring to earlier things talking about the Pharisees and being persecuted and all this stuff. Do not fear them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in darkness, tell it in light. And what you hear whispered in your ear, proclaim on the rooftops. He's teaching the disciples here now, and it's a limited audience teaching this stuff. So what he's talking about in the inner room, they're telling him to go out and do it, proclaim it. And looking in the Greek again on this, they're using the term apocalypse, revealed. So what is done in private, either internally inside you or in private group or you're by yourself, that will come out. It's going to come out. And my saying now is now's the time that's going to either pull that out in terms of being persecuted or hard times, money times, and so forth, illness. It's going to pull you out of acquiescence of evil into active evil. Or it's going to entice you out. And look what's happening in the world now. It's okay. They're trying to make it okay for pedophilia. It's okay to have children be biologically and chemically altered on a whim. And you have the parents going along with this and are supporting it. You have the law supporting it. This is absolute insanity. You have with Roe versus Wade. All rules of Roe versus Wade, the returnal says it's not a right, i.e. constitutional right, to have an abortion. And there are many states who say it's okay. But that's not good enough because they want it. They have the right to murder your kid and have a reason, maybe economic reason, or you can't handle it, try to talk you into it. The more blatantly honest people are saying, like, hey, I want to murder my kid. There's some knuckleheads out there who it's part of some kind of sexual fantasy to get pregnant and have an abortion. This is where evil, the devil evil, is bleeding through without any reserve. It's like, no, it's okay. Okay, just, kill them, alter their genders. I mean, just do it. And now with the crashing economy and they're looking to start a World War III over with Russia. I mean, when I'm counting on Putin's rationality to stop World War III, we're in trouble. So this is the kind of aspect that we're in this time of ultimate revealing, where you got to guard and watch. You're getting really mad. You're bursting out. You're having anger fits. You got to start controlling that. You got to do something about it, releasing it, meditation. You got to counseling, whatever it is, because it's going to boil over. You're thinking about fooling around. It's going to boil over. You're thinking about doing some crime to get some money or what have you. It's going to boil over. The momentum of this world is pushing you or pulling you forward into this choice, a rebellion choice from the plan. Now, God made the world with like a plan. It'd be like somebody who made a bicycle, and it's made to do certain things, and then you do different things, and you get hurt. It's not the bicycle's fault. It's not the car, motorcycle, gun, whatever. It's the person using it not following directions. If you follow along with what it's done, the item will last, it'll perform, you'll be safe, etc. This is what we're doing with the human body. God has made this human body. It has an ability to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. The experiencer, the soul who inhabits it, will experience a wonderful thing. It's made to run a certain way. But because this world, the 3D world that has been created, is to have people make a choice. The choices you make go into the next existence. And this is the playing field. We're limited. We can't go faster than light. We can't go to other planets. If there's life over there, we can't get to them, so it doesn't matter. So we're stuck here because in the real world, with real consequences, you step off a bridge, you die. There are real physical consequences of being on Earth outside of any kind of like destiny or planning. It's just a dangerous place. But because you have this physical relationship with the physical world, it could be a wonderful place. The athlete trains and sees what he can get his body to do and what have you, and what heights it can do, and what creativity and music and writing and cooking and whatever. You have the ability to bring into the physical world something. You got an idea in your head, you work with the physical objects around you, and then you bring into reality a new thing. This is the gift of God, and this is what we're being trained / tested in this universe right now, to go on to the next one that's aligned with our choices. If you want to be lawless, you want to hurt people, you want to steal, you want to rape, murder, and do all that stuff, okay, it's your choice. You're going to go on to another life, another area. You're going to advance to an area that's going to excel in those things. Now, to a person who is in a peaceful, loving sense, we're going to call that place hell. You're going to go into that place because you vibrate, identify, you resonate with negative energies that it kind, which it wants to take from people, hurt, you steal. Those are all negative. You're going to resonate with that. That's where you're going to go. Your choice. People who choose to follow the programming, that choose love, to help one another, and so forth, those people will move on to a greater area. This is all done by grace of God. Jesus came here and showed the way, and asking for him to help you with the Holy Spirit and his energies and following his words will get you that way. This is the whole part about saving from destruction, because destruction is waiting for people who go against the physical grain of what is good and right for a reason. It's going to be harmful. So you go that way, and I thank God and I thank Jesus, because I follow his principles. I pray to God the Father as Jesus taught. The way God manifests inside people through the Holy Spirit. However, whatever, those are all words to describe a supernatural thing we can't understand. So I'm not going to get hung up on the words. Well, you got to say these words in a certain order at a certain time, otherwise you're apostate, and you're I don't I've done my time in sects that are like that, and I understand the principles that Jesus taught and how it works, and what kind of storyline you want to put it into within the realms of that. It's fine as long as you're not a hypocrite about it. If you're going to be a hypocrite about it, there's that difference, and it will manifest in the reality. So I'm really careful about judging people and saying which way is right or wrong, because I am openly admitting that I rely on Jesus Christ, the teachings of Jesus, as well as the spiritual help that comes through him sending the helper to get through this life, to overcome the physical, mental, emotional impairments that humanity brings, and upbringing and things happen, as well as the people around me and their choices and how it fits, so that I could perform and do and learn the right things, because I want to go to that good place. Now, again, I could do all I want, and it's not going to work right, because this is where grace comes in. So don't get me wrong and say, well, I'm going to work my way to heaven. No, by grace, you have you have like a way, and you follow the way, and the way is narrow. I mean, these are all words from Jesus. I didn't make this stuff up. This is from me listening to the Bible a zillion times and concentrating on Jesus' teachings. The way that we go is narrow. It's not a worldly way. It's a way put out and taught by Jesus. To me, Jesus is the greatest teacher of it. At least maybe he's the most popular because people have saved it. But by following those principles, you're going to have a good life. Oh, we got Kelly in the chat room. I just noticed. I don't pay attention to the chat room a lot of times, folks, because I get lost in my train of thought. So this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing we've been taught over the years. You've been taught, and if you're younger, you still have years of writings and teachings, So you have, from antiquity onward, examples, whether they be myth stories or actual accounts. The principle is what matters. That's why I don't get involved in any of these other arguments. All it is meant to take your eye off the ball, and the ball is what these principles are. To be like that. You resonate with God. You resonate up into where you're going to go. And how do you do that? And for me, I'm telling you, Jesus intervened in my life and the Holy Spirit in my life to help me to go that way. But I still have to cooperate for its ultimate. I did a thing back when I was in the church, Baptist church, on the Kingdom of Heaven. And I've put it up for people to download. But at that time, in Baptist theology, it's, once saved, always saved, and it's not by grace, but just by confession and all that. It's by grace, not by works. But in the studying the kingdom of heaven and the king, Jesus talks about behavior and entering the kingdom of heaven. So I came up with the idea, using Jesus' words, I got nothing else to go on, is that to go all the way, if I can use the phrase, into the kingdom, there's a certain preparedness and readiness you have to be to go into the kingdom. Now, maybe, God, I don't make the kingdom. It talks about being thrust out into outer darkness. People have made that hell, and I don't think that's what it is. I think that the kingdom is so wonderful, and when you are here and you're choosing not to live those ways for lower vibrational reasons, when you get to there, you're not going to have the vibrational idea to be able to get there, and you'll see what it is, you'll see how wonderful it is, and you'll be sad. And eventually, God says, in the Bible, it says that God wipes away all the tears, eventually, So we can avoid all that stuff by just following the program now. There's not like this scoring card that comes up and goes, oh, you got to get 100, and you're only 99. Oh, well, it's an individual thing. But the principles are universal. And so when you go back in time and they say, yeah, people had slaves and they were Christians, isn't that terrible? At that time, how you treated the slave and how you're Christian was better than other places. And then when they released the slave, that not having slaves is still better. Each time they're getting closer to the principles. It doesn't mean that Christianity is wrong because they had slaves. Everyone had slaves. In fact, the United States was one of the earlier ones to get rid of slavery. But it's used as a tool, political tool for guilt to get you down. You should never have guilt. Guilt shows nothing. Guilt is something that is burning up on top of your head to try and get you to see the right ways and to understand. And once somebody accepts they did something wrong and they seek to learn and make amends, the guilt goes away. The guilt is really for people who don't want to face the wrongness. But guilt is never a good thing. So if you feel guilty, you should really re-examine it because there's no guiltiness in godliness. We all screw up. We've all made mistakes. We'll all do it again. The goal is to not try to do it. Like I said, if you have this burning inside you to do something wrong, you got to get rid of that burning because it'll come out now. We're in a time when these things are going to come out. And like Les Visible, a friend I've had in the show many times, a spiritual writer and teacher, all things are happening for demonstration. When you see the guy who ends up going into crime, going into prison or whatever, that's a demonstration to you. I have a theory. I have a bunch of stuff that I've come up with over time to help myself. If you see it, there's a point that you see it. If you hear about it, you see about it, something, there's a point that you should get from it. It's not even necessarily the obvious point that's staring at you. There's a principle for you to learn. If it gets to your attention, pay attention and discern what you can learn from it. Because the way this works, I mean, God is so amazingly complex. It's amazing. Evil is simple. The way that God communicates is very synchronistic. What's the word? There's another word. It escapes my my brain now. The idea is that things line up into no coincidence, but amazingly help one another. And it's like it's too complicated for that to have been actually happen, planned by somebody. But see, we're dealing with God, and we're dealing with infinity. We don't know what infinity is. We have no concept of infinity. Oh, it's a long time. But when you're God and you're infinite knowing, infinite loving, infinite in your abilities and so on, and your infinite age, you've been there forever. You have an idea so far beyond the finite that it will take infinity for us to try and catch up, which we never will, which means it will never get boring because God will always be infinity ahead of us. When you actually, one of the things I did was, and I think I did a show or two on this, is when you contemplate infinity, it's amazing. It is the universe. You know, they got the new telescope up there, the James Webb telescope, and they looked into an area of space which was black, using Hubble and other things, and they couldn't see anything. They get in there, zoom in, it's just teeming with galaxies, not teeming with stars, teeming with galaxies. They go out and look, and there's countless galaxies out there, and it's amazing to have that. You know, so how big is infinity? It's infinite. You can have a telescope and turn it to infinity, and there's no end because God's infinite. So when you say, "Well, God can't help me with this," no, He can help you. You might not like what you may have to do, but that's even a fallacy, because once somebody realizes how unsatisfying what you were in the physical you were clinging to, when you actually get your teeth into some spiritual, wow, you know, and that's why when you step, you know, into the light, if you will, it's an amazing thing. It's scary, and it's amazing. God, the devil wants you to think that God is standing up there judging. You've been told many times that Satan is the accuser. He accuses the brethren both day and night, or whatever the Bible verse is. Satan is the accuser. God is the judge and the defense attorney. So this is where when you look at God's manifestation through Jesus, the human, you know, Son of Man and all that, you have God being so good he could be the judge and the justifier. Satan is the one that's accusing. So that doesn't mean you got to stand up on a pedestal and tell people I've done this and that, because there are flawed human beings who are going to react differently, and you know, but it's something you should do personally. And whatever you choose to do and change, you have to manifest it out in reality. So I want to change this habit. I know it's harming me. I'm going to do this, and it'll happen out in reality. Can't be just in your head. You got to do it or not do it, as the case may be. Not doing it in reality of something that you did is action in reality. And when you do these things, the spiritualness grows, because the way I kind of look at it is that you're tuning your dial in. Of course, nowadays everything's digital, so that analogy is going on the wayside. But you have an analog dial, you tune it in, it's fuzzy. You can hear it, but it's fuzzy. As you tune in to God, it gets clearer, better, and sounding. You want that sound. You want that. You don't want to tune it back fuzzy. You want to tune it in right. So as you get closer and more intimate in your aspects of God, it gets better. That's why when something goes wrong, you do something wrong in your life or something, the first thing you talk to is God. It's not you don't hide from God. Well, God may find out, like Cain, right? God may find out. It's like, hey, come on, it's God. He knows everything. He knew it was going to happen beforehand. That's a good thing to know, that God knew what would happen beforehand, yet he still made you. Why? Because all things work for good for those who love God and who are called according to his purposes. And I would phrase that all things work for good for those who love God and follow his voice. That's how I would phrase it. And so it doesn't, the things you can learn by making the wrong choice, it's not that the wrong choice was destined by God for you to make the wrong choice. No, the choices are always there. We're in this world. We're in this universe of physicality. And there's going to be problems. God knows that, because getting through those problems has an end result that is much better than not coming here and dealing with it. So all things work for good. I mean, that's probably my favorite verse, my favorite non-Jesus verse, because it just shows that God can always work with it. So right now we're in a world where I look out the world and go, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this stuff. This is unbelievable. How do I do this? With the whole pandemic and all of its crap that came along with it, and the people who've been harmed by it, and there's more to come, and you look at it and go, oh my God, God knows. You have to lean on God, and people will perish. People will get through it. All of it is okay. It's just you want to do the best you can do. You want to follow God's principles, and sometimes God will have you be a witness, and you may perish. I probably overused this, but I kept thinking of Adam, the child being killed, and yet his father, Adam Walsh, and his father went out, and how many people have he saved with his program on there? So Adam may have taken a hit, but God turned that because of his choice of his father. He turned it into helping other people. So, I mean, these are the things you can't lose with God. You just have to choose and go along with the program that he has. Some people will be asked, some people will be in a position to step up. And I want to get to this last verse in Revelation. Actually, I should go back a verse, if I can do that. Go to 9. I'm not focusing on 9, but I want to read that. Oop. There we go. When the Lamb broke the fifth seal, okay, I saw underneath the altar the souls of those who have been killed because of the word of God and because of the testimony which they had maintained. And they, those people, cried out in a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, will you refrain from judging and avenging our blood on those who live on the earth? And a white robe was given to each of them, and they were told that they should rest for a while longer, this is the important part, until the number of their fellow servants and their brothers and sisters who were to be killed even as they had been was completed. And when I tuned in to the Greek on this one, the fellow servants of them and their brothers of them to be killed. I mean, it's like literally to put to death, abolish, to kill outright, figuratively, or to destroy. And so I would say that if you look at this, it means that people are going to be in a position to give a witness. Both they're going to live it out and observe a witness, which may cost them their life, their livelihood, their positions in a company or in a neighborhood or whatever, in a church, whatever. Those could happen. But by going through that and going through that area, that is, there's a blessing to compensate for all that. Another verse comes to mind. Jesus says, whatever you give to God, when you do something for God or you lose for God, He repays, and the analogy he gave is that you give a bushel to God, he will give you multiple bushels filled up to the top, running over. So the imagery is that whatever you may have suffered for the Lord's sake, you'll be paid many times over. No complaints in the afterlife for doing the right thing and perhaps losing your some kind of physical stake here. No complaints in the afterlife. So that we can look forward to, there's going to be times in this revelation where things are going to get so bad that it may cost lives. Lives, positions, like I said, whatever, relationships. But you got to stand firm to that, for the greater goal is coming on. You can't fall. Some people will fall simple to lust. They want power, they want sex, they want money. They'll do these things, right? But along the way of perfection toward kingdom of heaven, there's the other aspect of not just getting stuff, but losing stuff. And when you attach yourself to the physical, to materialism, it's going to also bring you down. If I can say that if you have lust in your heart, you will commit adultery. If you have hate in your heart, you'll commit murder. If you have materialism in your heart, you will, if you're attached to materialism, you're going to go crazy. You're going to go crazy because materialism will die. You're going to die. The world's going to end. All these things are going to happen. If you're basing your wholeness, your personhood, your soulhood on materialism, like they want to download themselves into a computer and live forever. Come on. They don't even have a clue how memory works and how they would even do that. And of course, they're thinking that you are your total of your memory. That's you. Total plus whatever wiring you have. So they're thinking I could just download my memories in a computer and I can have better wiring and I can be superhuman, if you will. It's all illusion. It's all Satan's laughing at this. These people, we're going to walk in, they're going to give up their life. They're going to give up their life into death. They're going to die. Even if the computer is able to mimic you enough of your stuff. Let's just say, for instance, somehow they can download your memory and you're still dead. That computer's not you. You make a clone of you, it's not you. It's someone else. So this is the ultimate in materialism is insanity. And when you're insanity, you're making irrational choices. You're killing people. It's just craziness. And so when we're in these times when materialism is becoming so rampant that, I remember I had to call a phone booth to check in and stuff. Now you got cell phones. I look at maps, how to get to go places. Now you got the Google Maps. That's all good stuff. I'm not criticizing it. But when you become attached to the physical and align yourself with the physical against the spiritual, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. Well, look at Soros and these other guys doing pretty good. Yeah, well, they're gonna lose. I mean, I people talked about what's his name, Epstein, when he died. I heard when he died, and the first thing I thought of was I had this vision came to me in my head, and I'm seeing him waking up on the other side because he thought, in my vision, he thought there was nothing else. He killed himself because I'm not going to be able to live the life I want to anymore, so I'll just kill myself. I know people say he was killed and all that, and maybe he was, but let me just say in this context. Wakes up on the other side, there's this gigantic demon right up to his face and went peekaboo. And he started to scream, this blood-curdling scream that, man, I tell you, I got, just watching this in my head or thinking about it, I got really upset. I got really emotionally upset at the horror that was coming out of that man. Now just think, that in that horror, he realized at that moment, all that stuff he was doing was wrong to the degree beyond our even knowing how wrong it is. All at once, he's got that on him. There isn't anything in this world that can come absolutely close worth that. And so, that's just something that popped in my head. I'm not saying it's true or real, but it's a good example that what awaits in the other side not only is wondrous beyond our understanding and imagining, it's horror beyond our understanding and imagining. And it's well, the point is that we're in the time of the revealing of all of this. We're in a time of testing to see what our choices will be. And I'm just saying that we have to go with the principles Jesus taught, using the Holy Spirit, however you want to phrase it, the spiritual aspects in our life. To me, I look at it this way. Jesus came and taught our mind. The Holy Spirit teaches our soul. I mean, that's just how it's probably too simplistic, but it's probably right in its simplicity. We need to follow that. In our time right now, it's really going to be important. It's going to be really important because a lot of bad stuff's happening all around. And I heard, I don't know if I saw this in a video or something. I heard somebody talking about this test that was done a long time ago, or in the 1900s, early 1900s, I think it was. The guy took a lamb, 2 lambs, put them in cages, and it had a lion in a cage. One lamb could see the lion, and the other lamb couldn't. Now, they're in cages. The lion couldn't get out. But the lamb seeing the lion, instinctively knowing the lion, could harm him, eat him, whatever, just living in the cage, safe from the lion, but seeing the lion, not understanding the cages, not understanding that, their health deteriorated, their life was shorter than the other lamb, and so forth. Well, I think that's kind of a cruel test, but being that it was done, it's an example of if you're living in the fear of what's to come and what can happen, and this is something I got to listen to because I'm trying to work out how I'm going to do things here in the future, and it doesn't look good, and it gets to me. So this is for my benefit as well as anybody else may. You can't look at the lion. You have to trust in God for whatever may happen. And that I'm reminded of everything from the fiery furnace, where the 3 guys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if I'm saying it right, they wouldn't bow down, so they threw them in the fiery furnace, and they weren't harmed. And there was I like the phrase, there was a 4th one in there, like a son of man, which is very interesting. And they were there talking, right? So they survived. On the other hand, you have the stories of the martyrs who were burned alive, singing hymns as they were consumed. They died and were consumed singing hymns. So, someone would say, that's all baloney and all that. Well, I think this is when you're with God and doing the right things and going through your crucible with God to the right way, you have no clue how it could be. You can have a fear of it on the outside, but you have no clue what it is to walk through it. I've had a couple things I've walked through. I had no hope except for God. 2 times I can think of right off the top of my head. It was very, very demanding. I had no hope, none, except God, to get through it. And I got through it. Now, it's not something I want to go through again. And at the time, there's no chance of me getting through this. But one by one, I just took one step at a time. Okay, first do this, first do that, first do this, and I got through it. So I've had a little touch. Now, I don't know if that means I'm going to have something really bad coming up, and it's like, oh, Lord, please. Anyway, so I'll leave it at then because I got to go. I wanted to spend a few minutes here. I haven't been around in a while, but this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about politics and all this stuff and all that. There's so many people out there talking about it. You don't need one more. And I think in my own heart, this is more important, or at least we need to know this stuff in these times with all this politics stuff going on. So I wanted to stop by and say, hey, thank God I went had my test and it was fine, and we're moving on. And as Kojak would say, like that there. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you again as soon as possible. I do have a couple of shows in the works. I still want to do that show with Lionel Parkinson about 12 Commandments of Jesus. Richard L. Miller gave me a call the other day. Want to know if we want to do a talk. I know a lot of people like that. I like talking with them, so we'll work something out with that. I'm going to be redoing the studio so it's more functional. I mean, right now, if I took a picture of it, you'd laugh. It looks like a complete, just mess. And I want to get it set up nice so I can do things, again, easier. So that's coming up, too, this winter. And in the winter, I'll be doing more shows because there's not much else I can do outside. Right now, I'm getting prepared for winter. I'm doing all kinds of chores outside. And anyway, all right, I'll leave it at there. We'll see you later. God bless. The Ancient One, my old friend. The one who walked before, the one who will walk again.
Retell your timeless